What's up, y'all? It's your boy Simply Food by TY. Look, today you guys are going to come with me in the kitchen and we are going to get the cooking. I told you guys that I'm going to be prepping you guys over the next month and a half to get you guys ready for the holiday season. So the first thing we're going to start doing is starting to make all of the side dishes. Anything from green beans like what we're making today, to cabbage, to the macaroni and cheeses, to the dressing, to the cornbread, anything you can think of, I'm probably going to show y'all how to cook. But today, we're going to be making my Southern-style green beans with red skin potatoes and smoked pork neck. Let me tell you something. The way that meat just sits on the sits on the neck bone, it's gonna be in that pot and soon to be in your stomach. So let's cook.
Do I have your attention? 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 Do I have your attention?
Is you taking notes?
Alright, you guys, let's jump into these ingredients. So we have 4 pounds of French pre-cut beans, chicken stock, seasonal salt, slap your mama seasoning, black pepper, onion powder, 1 medium to large yellow onion, garlic, apple cider vinegar, and of course your smoked pork. Now, just so you know, that is completely optional. You can use whatever type of smoked meat you would like. But before we get too far into this video, we need to get this pot nice and seasoned. So we've just added in 4 cups of water, and then the next thing you're going to add in is your entire box of your chicken stock. Your chicken stock, you guys, is going to give this dish an immense amount of depth. You do not want to just cook it in just water. If you want to keep it on the vegetarian side, by all means, you can definitely use vegetable stock for sure. The next thing we're going to add in is our meat itself. We are going to be cooking this meat in this pot for just about, I say about an hour and a half. You don't have to add any additional seasonings at this point. Just let the meat do its job and let it completely season it. Throw the top on, make sure that it's at, I say, about a medium boil, and then that's about it. Next up, we're working on the beans. So I have a large bowl of water here, and the good thing about these beans that you get from Sam's Club is that they are already pre-cut, which is great. The next thing you have to do is just check them, make sure that they're looking okay, literally snap them in half, throw them in the water, and that's it. This is much easier than, having to get real fresh beans, honey, where you have to literally pick the ends on every last one of them. So I do enjoy the fact that these are already pre-cut for you, but I would definitely suggest make sure you're still checking them and then putting them in the water. This is important. You want to make sure that you do this while your pot is boiling, while your meat is tenderizing. This is about an hour and a half for that meat to become, completely tender. And so that's a good amount of time for these beans to be soaking in this water. Just room temperature. Don't add any salt to it at all. Just let them soak, let them do their thing. And like I said, this is 2.5 pounds worth of beans. The next thing we're going to work on are our red skin potatoes. I have 4 large ones here. You can use more, you can use less. That is completely up to you. I love having them in the dish because it just adds a little bit more buoyancy to the final dish itself. And I cut them about medium size because they look good to see. And if they're too small and by them cooking for an hour and a half, they'll completely just dissolve to nothing. Now we're talking about onions. Y'all already know, I am not into a whole bunch of onions. But the good thing about this is by the time we add everything to the pot, we're going to be cooking it for about 2 hours. So you won't have to worry about a raw onion taste. You won't have to worry about big chunks, because what we're going to do is we're going to cut this down to a fine mince. Now, depending on the size of onion you have, you may need more than one. It came to about 1 cup, and that's really all that you need for this. And this is 2.5 pounds, so that's more than enough. For our garlic, if you are a huge fan of garlic, by all means use more. I'm going to use this entire thing here. I'm going to use 5, and it comes to 2 tablespoons. So that would be the measurement I would suggest. Now you have everything laid out. Your greens are clean, your potatoes have been washed, you have your garlic, you have your onions, everything's ready to go. It is now time to check on that meat. So this has now been cooking, you guys, for about an hour and a half. So at this particular point, what I like to do is I remove it from the pan. Now, I don't know if you've ever cooked with smoked meats before, but one thing that you should always be cautious about, especially when using smoked meats, especially pork, it sometimes leaves little shards of bones behind. So I personally think it's best to take the meat out of the pot and then shred it off the bone on a plate. That way you can be sure that you're not leaving any bones, because the last thing you need to be doing is killing your great-grandmother at the damn dining room table. Honey, the meat is succulent, honey. Yes, 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 yes. Just look how delicious it looks. It looks everything. Now that we've gotten our meat out, we can go on ahead and add in our beans. Now, just so you know, I do rinse them about 2 more times after they've been soaking in the water, just to make sure that they are nice and clean, to make sure that there's been no leftover dirt. None of that. We want our food to be nice and clean. So I rinse it about 2 more times. The next thing we're going to add are our beautiful red potatoes. Next up, we're going to add in our garlic. Then, of course, we're going to go on ahead and add in our onions as well. You are also going to add in 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Don't use white vinegar because that don't do anything. Just add 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and I promise you, there'll always be an undertone of something you can't quite figure out what it is. It's that vinegar, honey. So now we're adding in 1 tablespoon of our black pepper. Then we're also going to add in 1 tablespoon of our Slap Your Mama Creole seasoning. You can use the Tony Saturates, I think that's what it's called, if you can't find Slap Your Mama. Any type of Creole seasoning works completely fine. Don't stress about it. We're also now adding in 1 tablespoon of seasonal salt. And then after that, we're also going to add in 1 tablespoon of onion powder. Now, my little trick, you guys, is I add 1 tablespoon of sugar. Don't worry. It does not make the dish sweet at all. All it does is just cuts a little bit of the saltiness in the overall dish. Now that you've gotten all your seasonings in, just give it a good mixing. Make sure that everything is nicely incorporated. And then we are going to be adding in that beautiful meat in just a few moments. Also, we're going to add in 2 tablespoons, 2 to 3 tablespoons actually of butter. It gives a nice little creaminess. My God, on today. Look at that meat. You know that don't make no sense. Now, I know you guys are thinking, oh, well, you didn't really shred it up that much. That is completely fine. Don't stress about that. Don't worry about it. Now, when we put the lid on this, we're going to still let this cook for about 2 hours. So that meat is going to become even more tender. And the more you mix it around, once it's done, that meat's going to completely fall apart. So you don't have to stress about that. One thing I will say is do not throw away the bones. Take 2 of the biggest bones you have from whatever your smoked meat was and just simply lay it on the top of the pan. And then when you put the top on, don't stir it up, just lay it on the top, put the top on, let it cook for 2 hours. And my God, on today, look at it right there. You know this don't make no damn sense. So as you can see, those are the 2 bones that I just let sit right there. And I'm telling you, it adds so much additional flavor to the overall dish. You guys, that's it. That's it. All you have to do now is just give it a mixing. Taste it for salt to see if you would like to add any more. If you would like yours a little bit on the more spicier side, by all means you can add some cayenne or some crushed red pepper flakes. That is completely up to you. Just always remember, it is far easier to add salt than it is to remove salt. So keep that in mind. And also know, the longer these beans sit in this beautiful broth, the more it's going to soak it up. So what might not seem really salty right now could seem a bit saltier a little bit later on. So that's just, just something to keep in mind, especially when you're using any type of pork meat. It has a lot of sodium in it. Now, for those of you who would like to use smoked turkey, by all means do so. You might need to add a little bit more salt because that isn't as salty. But look, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. I hope you guys try out this recipe. I have plenty more for you guys to see. And look, as always, y'all babies stay cute and take care. And honey, just stay hungry. Oh my God. You know what? I got to go get me a plate. Goodbye.
Simply Food by TY.